Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. We got a new Raw Women's Champion. We got a new United States Champion. We also got a new Intercontinental Champion. But we didn't get a new Universal Champion. Because Roman Reigns pinned both Edge and Daniel Bryan. Wait a second. That means Edge pinned Bryan. Did we get a Universal Champion too? Also, WWE, stop doing the Fiend wrong. It's your supernatural gimmicks, Marty. I'm Doc Davis. Please give us a subscribe, super kick that thumbs up button, and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news and review videos. Like my review here of the WrestleMania 37 Night 1 post-show, Night 2. In about 10 minutes. Night 1 was so good, it even had me missing the zany weather delay promos at the start of Night 2, because I would have much preferred Drew trying to start a fight with Bobby than the show starting on time and getting what we did. WrestleMania co-hosts Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil dressed in Please Don't Think Hogan's a Racist Anymore costumes. Oh no, sorry, I read that wrong. It should say pirate costumes. Pooping all over that deck, they looked embarrassing to any sensible adult and did lame comedy where Hogan called the audience scallywags, which Titus said you can't call people that. They genuinely did a bit where Hogan said something he shouldn't have, and Titus O'Neil of all people showed him the error of his ways. Because some of Hogan's best friends are scallywags. But seriously, no one was recording that, right? Brother. The first match was the non-cinematic Fiend versus Randy Orton, because what better way to start the second night of having fans back for the first time in a year with a match that doesn't function in-ring in front of fans. Randy Orton came out weirdly dressed in white and even pretended to stumble on the ramp like Mandy Rose the previous night, showing just how seriously he was taking this feud in which he once tried to murder a man with fire. The crispy Fiend's entrance was far more elaborate, which saw him regenerate into slightly altered original Fiend via magic tunnel and then rising out of what Michael Cole would call a giant box-like structure by the ring, presumably missing the enormous handle on its side, giving it away as a jack-in-the-box. It's one of those vague, unidentifiable, box-like structures. As silly as it was, as soon as the Fiend's entrance music hit and Bray started playing up to the crowd, doing a yeah, yeah, yeah Brody Lee reference, I was in love again like a filthy mark. But it wasn't just the fans we got the return of here. Don't give me the red light. The Fiend no-sold offense for about 5 minutes, where he was suddenly distracted by Bliss sitting on top of the box-like structure by the ring, now dressed all in black with black viscous liquid pouring from the top of her head like an evil water feature. A demon bride maybe, or Sister Abigail herself, now finally given human form. The crowd were chanting "Holy S" in a good way. This was the big opening angle to restore the Fiend to his monster glory. So he turned into an RKO from Randy Orton and lost. The lights cut out, and when they came back on, the crowd were booing heavily while everyone had disappeared from the ring. I'm not at all into the supernatural Fiend or the supernatural story with Bliss, but despite all that, I still do love the character and the lore. This did not fill me with confidence going forward. The Fiend has lost yet another match, despite desperately needing a revenge win over Orton to rebuild him, and using Bliss to cost him the match was incredibly unsatisfying, and I imagine even more so to the fans who are very into their act, as it seems like the start of a split. What did you think of the Fiend loss? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere. But now, a message from me with more hair. Before we get on with the rest of the news, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, Manscaped.com, who think it's always time to talk about my big hairy balls. Gee, I hope everything else on me stays hairy forever. And this month is more important than usual, as April is National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. Every hour, a man is diagnosed with testicular cancer, the most common form of cancer for men aged 15 to 35. And one of the best tools against that most indiscriminate of diseases is early detection. So Manscaped, in addition to providing the right tools and solutions for safe and easy manscaping, have partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to spread awareness about men's health and early cancer detection. I haven't shared this with anyone apart from 2 other people, but I actually went to the doctors last summer because I found a lump on my testicles. It was really, really tiny, but it still spooked me out. Turns out it was just my penis. I shouldn't joke about this. It's hard though. This is serious. Don't worry, it was all fine in the end. It was just a lump, it didn't mean anything. But you feel something that's not quite right down there and you just ignore it, which is the worst thing you can do because it's so much safer and better for your physical and mental health from all that worrying to just get it checked out professionally. You can perform simple routine self-checks at home while enjoying Manscaped products like their Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, Crop Mop Ball Wipes, and of course, the Skin-Safe Lawnmower 3.0 body trimmer. What a work of engineering brilliance. It sure would be excellent shaving my head of hair, but that's not going to happen. Visit manscaped.com/TCS to learn how to check yourself for early signs of cancer. And as always, use our code WTTV to get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Support WrestleTalk, support Manscaped, and really do support yourself. Hot on the heels of the Fiend loss, WWE put on Natalya and Tamina versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the women's tag team titles. A match that went way too long, being one of the longest of the weekend, one that had no real build after only being set up the previous night, and one that was essentially heel versus heel, which is a hard dynamic to do even when your characters are actually over. Somehow the live crowd were very into Tamina getting her WrestleMania moment, and their cheers did lift the action a bit. But her and Natty lost, so screw them, I guess. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn hardly had any build either, but they had the luxury of fighting each other for 15 years already. They played off all that context with a pop-up powerbomb right out the gate, hockey fights galore, and a brilliant callback to their Battleground 2016 match where Sami held on to KO for a second haluva kick, but this time Owens fought back with a stunner to win. It was fun, fiery action that was ultimately really just there to set up the post-match angle. Top YouTube man Logan Paul turned on Sami to celebrate with Owens, so KO gave him a stunner, which, to Paul's credit, he sold really well. Next up came Sheamus versus Riddle for the United States Championship, where Riddle's AR entrance with birds coming out of his flip-flops now got a special WrestleMania edition, with the birds wearing little pirate hats and a little eye patch, and one of them stopped and winked at the camera. Why aren't you selling these as NFTs too, WWE? You're leaving money on the table here. Good money. The match, however, was incredible. Worked terrifically fast from big move to big move. Sheamus unfortunately botched a white noise off the top rope, but he made up for it with all the bro kick on a mid-air moonsaulting Riddle, busting open Riddle's mouth to win the US title. There was a video promo where Triple H gave Bad Bunny a briefcase on a deserted road, which had a microphone inside. Bad Bunny then returned to his home planet to announce his 2022 tour. He presumably took all the music with him, because not a single instrument factored into the following Big E versus Apollo Crews Nigerian drum match for the Intercontinental title. It was reported that as of Friday's SmackDown, WWE still didn't know what a Nigerian drum match actually was. Thankfully, they'd figured it out by night 2. It's just a hardcore match, with a few drums at ringside, which were never used. Instead, Big E and Apollo used non-drum weapons like tables and steel steps, where Big E almost had it won, which would have been his 8th or something win over Crews, until a returning Dabba Kato showed up, took Big E out, and gave Apollo the win to become the new Intercontinental Champion. PW Insider have reported his name will be Commander Aziz in the new gimmick. Rhea Ripley versus Asuka never really found that extra gear in their match that was somehow shorter than the earlier tag match. They had a nice building pace with a great Asuka DDT off the apron, but there wasn't any big near full sequence or proper third act of the match. Ripley just shouted at Asuka to keep kicking her, then hit the Riptide to become the new Raw Women's Champion. Asuka lost the match the same way WWE have booked her entire 7-month reign, as an afterthought. Thanks for your support on Patreon, Chris, the Cypriot Sensation Patru, and the Roller Coaster, Robert Acosta. Know that Becky Lynch return that she's been teasing all week? Well, you sure trolled us, Becky, because what we got instead was utter guffins. Titus and Hogan came out to remind everyone Hogan isn't racist. Sorry, I misread that again. I meant to say came out to thank fans. They were interrupted by Bayley, which brought out 2020 Hall of Fame inductees, the Bella Twins, to beat her up. Thankfully, the main event was an absolute masterpiece. Despite everything else on the weekend feeling like WrestleMania had finally returned, the star power here showed this was the real main event scene. Edge, Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan all got monster pops, with the fans booing Reigns correctly for the first time in his career. I was really curious to see how Roman and live fans would interact with each other. This is the first time we've seen heel Reigns in front of an audience. Would they cheer the heel now he's cool? Would he ignore them, just like he used to as the smiling, impotent babyface? And what about one of the coolest parts of Roman's character during the lockdown era? His quiet trash talking of his opponents that wouldn't be audible with fans. Thankfully, heel Reigns with an audience works just as well without, which is the mark of a fantastically well-rounded character. He shouted at the crowd, riling them up even more as him and Jey Uso beat down Edge and Bryan from the start. But what makes his heel character work so well is that he lets the babyfaces beat him before he ultimately beats them, making everyone look better than when they started. Bryan got a brilliant hot tag to himself to run wild, Edge speared Roman off the steel steps, and then they speared each other at the same time, which thankfully didn't implode the multiverse. But in the best spot of the weekend, Roman lost. Edge had him locked in a crossface with a bit of chair shoved in his mouth, to be joined by Bryan also putting Reigns in the yes lock. Roman tapped out, but Edge and Bryan were too busy trying to headbutt each other off. They both won in a way, setting up loads of possible directions even in defeat. So Roman needed to rebalance the universe and beat them both back. Quite literally. Edge sickeningly concertoed Bryan, but then Jey Uso interference allowed Roman to concerto Edge. Reigns draped Edge over Bryan's body and pinned them both at the same time. Which does kind of mean Edge pinned Bryan because Edge's shoulders weren't on the mat, but who cares? It was really cool. What did you think of WrestleMania 37 Night 2? Let me know in the comments down below and vote in our poll on a poll match on the community tab, where 77% of you said stop doing the Fiend wrong. While the main event was as good as anything all weekend and arguably had the most WrestleMania feel, Night 2 was nowhere near as good as Night 1 overall. Dragged down by screwy finishes like Dabba-Kato's re-debut and yet another awful loss angle for the Fiend. WrestleMania 37 Part 2 is 3 out of 5. But what about WrestleJamia? Adam Blompier and Fakador drew, meaning Fakey kept the championship on champion's advantage, and Louis Dangoor won a gauntlet, meaning he'll be facing Fakador at the next WWE pay-per-view, Backjam. And while you all tried to raise £20,000 to take my eyebrows from me, in addition to my hair, you only managed £17,500, meaning I win. I get to keep my eyebrows. This is what winning looks like. You know what? That makes it 1 to all of you with the hair, 1 to me with my eyebrows still intact. So how about we book a rubber match, Swaff Nation? I'll extend the deadline to the end of mine and Luke's Raw After Mania live reactions tonight. If you will raise the extra £2,500 to pass £20,000, then I'll shave off my eyebrows on Wednesday's Quizzlemania. But you're never gonna do it because you're just a bunch of filthy fucks. What are 10 WrestleMania moments that almost ended in disaster? Click the video on the right to find out, and watch my review of WrestleMania 37 Night 1 by clicking the video below that. I've been Mr. Davis. Jam that jam.